The Owls sailed back to Philadelphia with another road L in hand.
Arg! The Pirates made the Owls walk the plank as they sink into the bye week.
I'm Jackson Batcher, live outside of the Owls practice facility at Bergolson Hall. First half, pretty good. Second half, not so good. I'll take a look at a common theme that has led to the Owls' struggles this season.
And I'm Taylor Vine, live at the studio set. Later in the show, I'll be discussing the outcome of this weekend's matchup around the American. It includes a team that is no longer undefeated and another conference game that ended with a 28-point comeback win. Inside the Nest is live and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome into a brand new edition of Inside the Nest. I'm Hayden Bandel and she's Sam Cavone. Guys, we're reaching that point. Halloween is this Thursday and it's spooky season for TU.
Temple is historically bad the week of Halloween. Maybe that's why they scheduled this week to be the second bye. Unfortunately, there was still that scare. It came this past Saturday with a road loss to East Carolina. Temple traveled to Greenville, North Carolina for an AAC matchup with the ECU Pirates. Questions about the state of ECU's program surrounded this game upon the firing of head coach Mike Houston, but those questions were quickly answered. The Owls trying to take the win against a Pirates team that has won the last three. On ECU's first drive of the game, Kaiten Hauser steps back and passes deep to Anthony Smith, who runs it in for the first TD of the game. It doesn't take Temple long to respond. Jamar Taylor with some excited somersaults as Evan Simon records his second rushing touchdown of the season with a tush push to tie it 7-7. Simon again passing deep to Ashton Allen for a 60-yard touchdown. The track star records his first TD of the season and the Owls take the 14-13 lead. The Simon to Allen connection is not done yet. Allen records his second career touchdown after catching another bomb from his QB. Then, with 15 seconds left in the half, ECU still trailing by one, but not for long. Hauser connects with Chase Sowell to retake the 27-21 lead, and it's all downhill from here.
After Rajay Harris's 55-yard run that set ECU inside the 10 on the first drive of the second half, it's Harris who finishes the job and pushes his way in past the goal line. Now, Temple doesn't go away easily. On the longest drive of the season, which lasted nearly 7 minutes, Simon, to the middle of the field, connects with Landon Morris for his first career touchdown, and it cuts the lead to one possession. But the doors start to fall off for Temple defensively. 4 plays later, here is not one, but 2 tackles broken by Marlon Gunn Jr. to tack on another touchdown for the Pirates. Then Simon's pass is batted into the air, and if you're good at cracking codes, you can solve what will happen next. Jamarlee Riddle takes this one all the way back, and then the icing on the cake for the East Carolina Pirates. Yannick Smith, the true freshman, is going to secure his first career collegiate score, and it's the 4th consecutive drive, ending with 7 points for East Carolina. Your final score from Bagwell Field at Dowdy-Finkland Stadium is 56-34 East Carolina.
Looking at the day Temple had, the Owls matched up decently with the Pirates until the second half came around. Simon threw for 294 yards and completed 23 of his 41 attempts. Along with 3 touchdowns, he also put the ball into ECU's hands 3 times. Terez Worthy ran for 88 yards and a touchdown, but also had 1 reception if you have him on your fantasy team. Ashton Allen recorded 109 yards and 2 touchdowns on just 4 receptions, one of those TDs being a 60-yarder. ECU got into a rhythm with Hauser making his second start. Hauser went 16 for 29 with 5 TDs and 269 yards, but was picked off twice. Rajay Harris tied his career-high rushing yards with 131 and got into the end zone once. Chase Sowell also had 4 receptions for 117 yards and a 45-yard touchdown catch. But beyond the stats, the worst number is 18. That is where we stand with Temple's road losing streak.
ECU now owns the all-time series with 12 wins in 21 games against these Owls. However, Temple did beat ECU in 1896. That's right, I didn't stutter. 1896. But the result was forfeited to the Pirates, and they were given the win because Temple used an ineligible player. It's the Pirates who have owned the series, though, as of late, winning the last 4 matchups. In this latest loss, Coach Drayton talked about some of those defensive miscues.
Yeah, a lot of that going on. Just poor eye discipline is. It's not characteristic. I don't really have an answer for you. We're going to figure it out. But, you know, our level of execution on defense was not to standard. You know, just doing things that we have not done in a very long time. And so we got to figure out what that is. Yeah. I didn't feel any quit in this football team. What I did feel was some bad execution, right? Don't quit. This team does not have that in them. And that's why I love them. And we go to work, and we're going to go back to work this week and, you know, try to figure some things out. But, you know, the morale was okay. They were still in the game and ready to fight. So.
And how about just your quick sort of assessment of Evans' performance today?
You know, obviously we have 2 picks that we're dealing with right there, right? But for the most part, I mean, he's our guy. You know, he's our guy right now. Made a couple of good throws and, you know, made some really good decisions during the time where it kept us in the ball game. And, you know, still not a lot for me to go off of not watching the film right now, but I would say solid. You know, we're going to continue to reassess, really take a look at our injuries. We're beat up football team right now and try to get some guys back and really try to evaluate what went wrong today. You know, what was it from a mindset standpoint or whatever it was. Because this team put together 2 really good weeks of practice. I was not expecting to see this lack of execution out here today. You know, so just trying to figure that piece of it out, and we will.
Here's the deal, right? Stan Drayton said they're going to figure it out. Sam,
Yeah.
It is almost November.
Yeah.
I heard Stan Drayton say they're going to figure out
In week
August.
1, yeah.
And we have not figured it out.
No.
Whatever
Why
it is,
why
we have
is
not
it
figured out.
almost week 9? You're almost going into week 9 and it's not figured out. And it's the same issues. It's not different issues. It's still miscommunication. It's still missed assignments. If it's not the defense one week, it's the offense the next week. You need to figure it out. But I don't know if there's time to anymore.
It's the same thing over and over. And yeah, I mean, with the team being 2-6, and Stan Drayton his last couple of years also having below 500 records, you kind of question just where he sits. And honestly, what do you think?
I mean, it's a catch-22. Do you stick with Drayton and not get the results that you want? Or do you risk finding a head coach? You said it the other day, like, this isn't a really appeling job.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? If you want to get rid of Stan Drayton, and that's a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
But are you going to find someone that is going to want this? Because let's be real, this is probably one of the most unappealing jobs in college football at the moment.
You're building it up from the ground.
Yep,
you're going to have to revamp everything. It's just not something
you have no NIL money coming in.
No one wants to step into that role. Even if you promote someone who's already a coach here, they're probably not going to want it. They're probably looking for bigger opportunities overall right now as well.
I think especially with a new president coming into the university in just a few days, I think people with the Stan Drayton coming out, I think it kind of has to slow down because honestly, I think that buys them a little more leverage.
A little bit. You never know. They don't want to, revamp everything.
For sure. And that defensive standpoint from Temple, we saw East Carolina put up 29 points on the board in that third frame, the most given up by Temple since they played Penn State in 2008.
Inside the Nest beat reporter Jackson Batchelor is live outside of Edward Golson Hall to tell us about Temple's second half struggles. Hey, Jackson.
Guys, it was quite a turn of events in Greenville this weekend as the Owls entered the second half only trailing by 6 just to leave Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium with a 22-point loss. Bad stretches like these, though, have been apparent a whole season in 2024.
Guns it deep and a wide open man.
In Saturday's loss in Greenville, there were a few major issues that stood out. The Owls have yet to win a road game this season, and they also gave up a season-high 56 points. But a major theme in this game was Temple's second half struggles.
To be into the end zone, touchdown.
The Owls were outscored 29-7 in the third quarter alone, and 21 of those 29 points were scored during a 90-second span.
Takes it back to the house for ECU.
No, we had just things that were just not characteristic of our defense. I mean, a lot of guys missing gaps, eyes in the wrong place. It just wasn't. We just did not execute on defense that well at all today.
Much of this third quarter run actually started late in the second quarter when ECU scored a touchdown with just 8 seconds left in the half.
Sowell scores right at the end of the first half.
I didn't feel any quit in this football team. What I did feel was some bad execution, right? Don't quit. This team does not have that in them, and that's why I love them. And we go to work, and we're going to go back to work this week and, try to figure some things out.
As the Owls enter their second bye week, Drayton and the Owls look to get ready to head back on the road and clean up these second half struggles.
Overall, Temple has been outscored 87-43 in the second half of their last 4 games, a stretch in which they are 1-3. To make matters worse, 3 of those 4 games were against conference opponents. Temple was outscored by 14 against Army, by 7 at UConn, by 7 last week against Tulsa in their lone win of the stretch, and 16 in their East Carolina game. It's their worst third quarter in more than 15 years. The Owls have shown at different times that they can hang with just about any team in the conference, but there are too many stretches and too many games where Temple is being outscored by these wide margins, leading to just too many lopsided losses. Reporting outside Edberg Olson Hall, I'm Jackson Batchelor. Hayden and Sam, back to you on desk.
Thank you, Jackson. You mentioned 56 points scored by ECU, the most by a Temple opponent this season.
Hayden and I are focusing on what went wrong on both sides of the ball. So we can start with my play, and we can play it here. This is Temple's last drive of the game. It's 4th and 10. Evan Simon with nowhere to go. He's completely covered. He throws the ball trying to reach Landon Morris, but Landon Morris is in quadruple coverage. There's no way he's getting that ball. It results in an interception. We're just going to watch it. Evan Simon has nowhere to go. This ball, there's just no chance that Landon Morris is going to come away with that. It gives ECU just enough time to tick down the clock. 5 minutes left in the game, eventually taking the win.
Now, I want you guys to watch Anthony Watkins, the East Carolina receiver up here. He's being guarded by Jalen Lewis. Now, you can play it here. Jalen Lewis is just going to run an out route, and look at that. He just gets completely blown out. Him and Jamel Johnson, no communication there, and that's how he's able to just easily walk in. We're going to see now some miscommunication and some just non-execution plays, right? Here's just a normal run up the gun by Marlon Gunn Jr. He just takes it right in. Broke not 1, but 2 tackles on the play. We're going to see it again. Watch, Andreas Keaton, one of the best tacklers on Temple, maybe even in the nation, but still he's unable to just secure him and bring him down. And those are just some of the miscommunications and just non-execution that we've been seeing from the Temple defense. We are up against our first break of the show. Stan Drayton was also on a break with his weekly press conference due to the bye.
So we're calling an audible. We'll be going no huddle once we return. Stick around. Inside the Nest will be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back to Inside the Nest. Temple has some time to breathe with a bye week, but our up-tempo offensive style certainly doesn't.
We now go no huddle with Owl Sports Update anchor Julia Green. Question 1. Will this loss be the beginning of the team unraveling?
Well, guys, I can't say that this is a team that is going to win down the stretch, but I don't think that the team will completely unravel. There's too much pride in that locker room. And if there are players who want to jump in the portal after the season, they're going to need to show other teams that they can still play.
Yeah, Julie, I think I disagree, right? When we factor in just the schedule that Temple has to play, they have to go on the road to Tulane and to UTSA. They're home for FAU in North Texas. But honestly, I think 3 out of those 4 games could just be complete blowouts, right? We saw them lose to a team that didn't really know where they were headed in the right direction, just firing their head coach, and they still lose by 20 plus. Question 2, how does that second bye week impact Temple?
Now, it may be a good opportunity for the team to have a chance to recuperate and for Drayton to assess their upcoming opponents. The defense will hopefully have some time to reassess following the disappointing second half versus ECU. And hopefully the bye week will be spent reviewing some game film and preparing the team for the next stretch of games.
Now, does it impact Temple? Like Hayden and I said, we're going into week 9 with the same issues as week 1, the miscommunication, the missed assignments. What can you fix in just a couple short weeks and a week off? Now, question 3, does Temple get to 3 wins this season?
Now, I'm cautiously optimistic that the Owls can get another win this season. I think that their best odds is the game versus Florida Atlantic. They are 2-5 and 13th in the AAC. That being said, with the stretch of games coming up, I think that the Owls should be able to get a 3rd win before they close out this season.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to disagree. Honestly, when we look at the schedule, as I mentioned, I think their most winnable game is that FAU one at home, who FAU is winless in the AAC, but when they play them, they're going to be on 2 days of extra rest. So I don't know if Temple is going to actually be able to pull it off because FAU is going to have more time to scout them out. And then when we look at that, just factoring that in, we haven't seen Temple really do much, even when they have less time than the teams that they're playing. Time's up, though. Thank you, Julia, for joining us. You can catch her and Michael Merville on Owl Sports Update this Thursday, talking football, field hockey, and basketball.
For our show on the other side of break, Inside the Nest beat reporter Kayla Levine will take us around the American. We'll be back shortly.
Welcome back. There were a bunch of high-scoring affairs this week throughout the AAC. Inside the Nest beat reporter Kayla Levine is in studio to tell us about some of those out-of-town scores. Hey, Kayla.
Hey guys, yes, we start with the Navy midshipmen who took a hard 51-14 loss to 8th-ranked Notre Dame, knocking them from the undefeated ranking, putting them 6-1 on the season. Another interesting game, the Rice Owls were defeated by the Yukon Huskies 17-10. Rice is 2-6 on the year now. But as we move into conference matchups, the Tulane Green Wave has remained undefeated in conference play thanks to its 45-37 win over North Texas, putting them right next to Navy in conference standings. Another win this weekend comes from Memphis, who defeated the Charlotte 49ers 33-28, securing their third conference win. But the weekend ended with a shocking comeback in the Tulsa UTSA game. What we are going to watch here is a fumble recovery by Tulsa that ends with a touchdown, thus kickstarting a huge comeback for the Golden Hurricane. We are going to take a look here where UTSA's quarterback takes a big hit by number 32, Vontre Malloy, knocking the ball right out of his hand and in perfect position for defensive lineman Amaya Williams, who runs it 35 yards to the end zone for a scoop and score. Tulsa scored 39 points in the second half for the win. Both Tulsa and UTSA are now 3-5 on the year. But that's all I have from the studio set. I'm Kayla Levine, Sam and Hayden. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Kayla. Now you mentioned it. Navy took a hard loss to Notre Dame, and I don't think that anyone saw that coming. What are your thoughts about that loss?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't the prettiest, but the good thing for Navy is that it wasn't a conference game, right?
Yeah.
So they're still undefeated in conference play.
Oh, yeah.
They have a huge game coming up in just a couple of weeks against Tulane. I think that's going to turn into a participant in the AAC championship game.
And you know that Navy only had 43 less rushing yards than Notre Dame in this game. So, I mean, at least it wasn't a bad rushing contest. The score says otherwise. But when you look at, like, those facts about it, you can see it. And honestly, I could pretty much see Army beating Notre Dame. Their quarterback has been on fire recently.
Yeah.
The stuff that he is producing, I think he's a good contender for this win against Notre Dame.
Well, yeah, I think Bryson Daly, who you're referring to, he's probably going to end up winning the Offensive Player of the Year in the American Athletic Conference. He's won the last 3 Players of the Weeks before this week because Army was on a bye, but he is 10th in rushing yards in the nation with 109. He leads the FBS in rushing touchdowns with 19. He has been unreal for Army, and he's the reason that they're probably going to end up going undefeated going into that American Athletic Conference championship game.
And, you know, we know these military schools aren't passing teams, but he still has 7 passing touchdowns. He's 27 for 47. He's showing up in these ways that people really aren't expecting him to. I don't think anyone came into this season and said, hey, I think Army is going to lead the AAC their first year in the AAC.
Can you imagine an Army-Navy AAC championship game? That would be unreal.
And they play twice.
Yeah, well, so they play them the week.
Yeah.
They would play them the week after, and I know it would be a whole complication with the TV rights and everything. Because why would you want to play them back-to-back weeks when the first week it means more, the second week, I know it's pride and everything.
It's interesting as well. You want to see who's going to take that first one. That means
but
nothing.
But does the second one mean anything? No, the first one would mean the most.
Yeah.
That would be the AAC championship game.
Yeah, but then you can see who's better.
Yeah.
You can still see it. If you go 2-0 against the team.
But as long as you win the conference championship, I think that's all that's going to matter at the end. But we have hit our last break of the show. When we return, we're going to be going over a blast from the past.
It's spooky season, so it's only right that we dig into some scary memories from Temple's past. ITM will be right back. Welcome back. It has been a scary stretch for the Owls, especially while playing during the spookiest week of the year. For 7 straight years, Temple has fallen during the week of Halloween. 4 of these games were blowouts by non-military schools. The Owls' last win during the week of Halloween was in 2016 against Cincinnati, 34-13.
And the year before that was certainly something to remember for Temple fans and the program when the Owls hosted game day this week in 2015. There's Jahad Dotson to tie the score at 17. Owls tack on a field goal, but the next drive with just over 2 minutes, DeShone Kizer in a fully packed stadium connects with the Philly kid Will Fuller to give Notre Dame the lead, and the Owls' efforts did not go as planned. P.J. Walker's jump pass was picked off, but man, what a great time, what a game for that to occur even in the 24-20 loss to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I mean, Sam, when we look back at that, that was one of the biggest weekends ever at Temple. Look at it. There are fans that care about Temple football.
We don't get to see this anymore. You can ask any person in the Philadelphia area, any Temple fan, any Notre Dame fan, they will bring up this game. They will tell you everything about this game. I mean, it was definitely one of the highest points of
the
Temple.
college football championship trophy is in attendance.
It was one of the highest points in Temple football. Both teams were ranked. Temple this season beat Penn State. How much better can you get?
You want to know how much better it get? Because the Eagles are also on a bye that week.
Yeah.
Everything aligned for Temple that week. They're undefeated, hosting Notre Dame.
The link was sold out.
The link was sold out. Eagles are on a bye week. No one cares about the professional team. Everyone's focused on Temple football. It was just an unreal time. Look at all those people outside of the city.
You don't get things like this anymore. You don't get the excitement. I hope that we get this back because this was certainly such a time. There were so many NFL players playing in this game who, like I said, they're currently in the league right now. Hassan Reddick, he's one of the many Owls who are playing in the NFL right now. And you know, he's not the only one, and their years are in parentheses on this full screen. But recently, Hassan Reddick agreed to terms with the New York Jets after months of back and forth and a pretty ugly contract holdout. He played his first game of the season on Sunday. Brandon McManus, who has played for 3 NFL teams, is now on the Packers and hit a game-winning field goal for the 2nd straight week. Recent graduate Jordan McGee was activated off of IR and made his NFL debut in the Commanders game versus the Bears. Now, on the Bears side of things, Jacob Martin was also activated off of IR and played in his first game so far this season. Now, Hayden, that's a pretty good-looking group, if I say so myself. They're all in the NFL making headlines.
It happens a lot throughout the program, especially recently, right? They always have a lot of guys that are NFL talent-worthy, but never able to really put it together as a full team. And honestly, with the NIL coming now and stuff like that, and how it's affecting not just Temple, but college sports overall is going to be completely different. And that's why Temple is just one of those products that isn't currently being good from it. But that is all the time that we have for this Halloween edition of Inside the Nest. Join us next week as we look ahead to Temple's matchup against Tulane.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a happy Halloween and a great week.
Trick or treat.